So I don't know. I am right now. I'm putting out, um, just putting out episodes. Just getting out episodes and kind of making sure that, kind of making sure that, uh, kind of making sure that um, that they're what I want them to be. And right now, I'm using my Rodecaster Pro 2, and I kind of, I don't know. This whole process is a mind fuck. Let's put it that way. It's a mind fuck. But it is a learning process that you get used to, and you kind of, after listening to it for so long, you can kind of see what's, you know hear certain things, and different variations that nobody else really cares about too much. But for you, since you're listening to it so much, you hear it because you got these headphones on and you're listening to it, and uh you're trying to kind of adjust certain settings and all this kind of stuff. So um kind of learning now. I've had this Rollcaster for quite some time, and really, on the Rollcaster, the depth and I think the depth and sparkle, all those are is your exciter, uh, the bottom buttons. That's all those are. It's not your EQ. It's not none of the other stuff. And the punch, everybody knows that that's your compressor, but you got to remember, even though it's your compressor, it's not set right because uh, you want 3 to 6 decibels of gain reduction. But if you're using more than one compressor, then you want to spread it out over those compressors. If you're using 3 of them, you want 2 compressors, probably out. I would say 2 to 1, maybe. If you're using 2 compressors and you want compressors, I would assume set at 3 to 1. And then you have to, look at the compressor and get your threshold and set it so that little red line is about 3 decibels a gain. And then you got to remember, after you do that, you got to go down and set your compressor makeup gain to 3 decibels, because you're reducing the regular file by 3 decibels. So you got to make that up. So it's a learning process. I mean, don't take my word for it, because I'm not a genius. I'm not I'm not an engineer. But what I will tell you is, having gone through this whole process, I did learn Ti. I was listening to his podcast, and I noticed that when I think it was a podcast with him and Country Wayne, and I could hear. I mean, they have much better equipment than I do, So, you know, no bad words, nothing. But what I could hear is, when he was talking, I could hear that it was either his expander or his noise gate that, it wasn't set properly, because it wasn't catching the air when it opened up when they were talking. So when they would talk, then you could hear the hiss when they were talking, and that tells me one thing, that more than likely it was their noise gate, because the noise gate opens up while you're talking, and then when you stop talking, it's supposed to slam shut. The expander, it kind of rides your what you're saying, pretty much, and then when you stop talking, it compresses the quiet part when you're not talking. So it sounded like they were using a noise gate, which, at his level, I'm pretty sure he has a pretty good expander or whatever at that particular level. I'm pretty sure he can afford a better one than I have. I have a 528 voice processor that I ended up getting a hold of. That was a pretty good buy. It was like $175, and it's a well-known voice processor. The EQ can be a little bit tricky, but I ended up setting them all at 12, to be honest, and I just left it there. I'm not even using the EQ right now. I'm actually going right through my Rodecaster, and I'm using everything but the the noise gate, because with the noise gate, it makes it sound way too you can hear it cutting off words. So I don't use it with the noise gate. I just kind of leave the noise gate. I kind of leave the noise gate out because I don't really like the fact that it takes the. I don't really like the fact that it takes the you can hear it cutting off words. So that's kind of, for me, that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of annoying somewhat, because it just, if you listen to a podcast like I do, or you got your own podcast, whatever, it just, you can hear it, and it'll sound like a word just being chopped off at the end. Instead of just slowly going out, you'll hear it chop off a word, or in between words. If you listen close enough, then you'll hear it in between words. You'll stop talking, and instead of like a smooth silence, it'll be just like a cut to dead silence, like just nothing. And that can be, if you're an avid podcast listener, then that kind of stuff tends to come up, and you'll hear that kind of stuff. So, it's just a matter of just kind of paying attention, and you'll hear different things in different people's podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that my podcast is anywhere near top tier podcast. I'm just saying that things that I noticed from being a podcaster and spending days and hours and weekends and that kind of thing working on my podcast. So I recognize these kind of things.